In the previous video, I walked through planning and designing a site in FigJam and Figma and building it out in Squarespace. So if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link it below so you can start there. But this is just a continuation of that, where I'm going to build out the rest of the pages and show which ones I used Figma for and which ones I designed directly in Squarespace. And then I'll just provide my thoughts at the end on who this workflow could work for and who it may not work for, so that you can decide on your own if you want to try using anything from this process. So I'm going to start with the structure of the site from where I left off in the last video. I want to start off with the main nav and just talk about what we did here. I wanted to keep this top navigation simple. So you'll see I only have 3 links here really. I have the coaching packages, resources, and book a session. I wanted to take advantage of the drop-down feature in Squarespace. So I ended up putting all of the coaching packages underneath this one drop-down. This did require a little bit of CSS to style these items. Since I didn't like the way the default Squarespace dropdown was styled, it just didn't feel too user-friendly. So all I really did was just bump up the size of these buttons and give them the outline to match the aesthetic of the rest of the site. Since the goal of the site is to get people to book a session or to learn more about the coaching packages before they book, I wanted to make those the main areas of focus in the main navigation. So going down to the footer, I had to make some changes here. I ended up splitting up coaching packages here and putting links to each individual coaching package in the footer. I changed the styling a bit by adding these underlines for the main sections. I did have to use some CSS to remove the underlines from the individual links, since it started to look a little too busy once there were underlines on all of the text and then also in the labels of the navigation items here. So I only went back to Figma for a couple of pages. One of those pages ended up being the individual coaching packages. So I wanted to design a template that was similar to the homepage, but not exact. I know for some people that are landing on these pages from search, this may be the site's first impression if they're searching for a coaching package individually. So I wanted to make sure that it had a little bit of a homepage type feel. So kind of in between a homepage and a landing page here. But the whole purpose is to educate users on what is in each one of these coaching packages. So just giving them an overview of what is in the package and what you'll gain, the structure of the program. I wanted to pull a testimonial in here also. And then who is this for with the main CTA to book a free consultation. The other page I went back to Figma for was the promotional landing page. I wanted to eliminate distractions since this is a landing page, and this would typically get linked to from an ad or maybe social media posts. So removing the main navigation would take away some of the distractions from the user's main goal here. The hero for this page should have the call to action right away. Since the main call to action is collecting an email address to send the user a link to the free download, I wanted to make sure that that was available right away in this hero section of the page. And since it is a landing page, I want to keep it very simple. So really there's just a little bit of information on what users can expect when they get this free download and a testimonial. And that's about it. The point of this is to be simple and give the users what they're coming here for. When I built this page out in Squarespace, I did have to make a couple of changes. One of them is with this sign up form. Right here, I didn't want to use the email sign up component that is part of Squarespace. I used the Squarespace form component so that I could give them the option to sign up for news and updates if they want to receive emails from you in the future. Another thing that I had to do here is I did bring icons into this page. In order to keep icons in sync with the colors of the page, I had to use CSS and use a variable to target the fill color of this icon. And the icon is actually put in there with the code component. So the nice thing about Figma is you can copy out the SVG code of an icon and paste it in here. I did have to add this class of SVG icon in here so that I could target it with the CSS to change the fill color. And getting that SVG code from Figma is pretty straightforward. So if you just right click on the icon, there's this option here with copy and paste as. If you copy as SVG, that will give you the code in your clipboard, so you can just paste it into the code component in Squarespace. For this resources page, I use the blog component. And since that already has a structure that's pretty well defined in Squarespace, it was easier to just style it with CSS in Squarespace than to do this all in Figma. And one of the first gotchas I ran into when I was working on this page was the miscellaneous font here for the metadata. When I had initially built the home page, I was using that as the large hero font here. And I had defined the size in the Squarespace settings. But what happened was these metadata elements were huge. So I went back and set those back to the default size. So I ended up just changing the font size in CSS for those larger titles. I also had to create some media queries in CSS to target the mobile version of this site, since I was still getting some gaps in between each of these items in the mobile view. Another one of the pages that I ended up designing in Squarespace directly was the About page. Since it was pretty simple, it just made more sense to design this straight in Squarespace. One thing I want to call out is using saved sections. So once you've built enough pages in your site, you can start saving them by clicking this heart icon to save the section. Anytime you want to use a section that you've saved, you can pull it from your saved sections when you add a new one. And you'll see this item here, save sections. When you click on it, you'll see all of these different sections that I saved throughout the layout so that I could reuse when I'm building other pages. The other page that I built directly in Squarespace was testimonials. Since this page is pretty straightforward, I thought it would be easy to design this in Squarespace also. I didn't see a need to go into Figma to lay something like this out. I already had an idea of what I wanted this to look like in my head, so it was just easier to come into Squarespace and build it in here directly. And the other page that I designed directly in Squarespace was just the contact page. Since this didn't have a lot of content to lay out, it was just easier to build this in Squarespace also. Now that I've finished designing all the pages, I found strengths in both Squarespace and Figma. In Squarespace, I found that the more pages you design, the easier it is to just keep going in that tool and design the rest of your pages. And save sections made that a lot easier. This also helped keep the design consistent. So you don't have to worry about going into Figma and lay out something brand new. You just use what's already there and design your page from that. Figma had strengths in creativity and the speed of laying something out. There were days when Squarespace would have issues and I would get errors and pages were just really slow to load, and there was just overall performance issues on the whole site. So having Figma there to be able to continue moving forward with my design was a huge help. So as far as this process goes for a design team of one, I think it's very beneficial because it's easier for you to track what you designed in Squarespace and what you designed in Figma. But if you're a larger team and you're collaborating with other designers and other team members, I don't think this process would be the best approach because it is harder for everyone to track what's been designed in Squarespace and what's been designed in Figma. I think Figma would be the way to go if you're on a large team, because one of the strengths of Figma is the collaboration tools that it has. People being able to work on the design simultaneously and having other team members being able to comment on it. As far as FigJam goes, I think that tool works for any size design team. I think if you're a design team of one, it's great to have that as a reference to keep you on track on what the site's goal is. If you're a larger team, that's also beneficial. But you also have the collaboration options and being able to contribute to everything in the FigJam to help you stay on track with the site also. So moving forward, I'll probably use this process because it's just me doing the design. But if I were to collaborate with any other designers, then I think I would use Figma as the single source of truth. And as far as this process goes and what your opinion is on it, I'd love to hear your comments. And if there's any improvements that you would make to it, I would love to hear about that also. I'd also like to hear if you found any value from this and if you're going to try using this in your projects. So if you did, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.